and probable solutions related to crew change. This has been organized by the GMC family. So we'd like to thank you all for joining us today amidst all your hectic schedules. We also warmly welcome our three panelists, Captain Cuba Szymanski, Mr. Oleg Gregoruk, and Captain Girish Fadnis. I'm Kaushik Seal, your moderator for today's session. I'm basically a marine engineer, having sailed as a chief engineer with Great Eastern Shipping, and I've worked ashore with Lloyd's Register, Applied Research International, the American Bureau of Shipping, Anglo-Eastern, Gamanisha Lloyd, and DNVGL. I'm currently with Storm Geo in Singapore, looking after their sales and business development. I'm also proud to be a global leader within the GMC family. So before we begin our discussions on the topic, we at the Federation of Global Maritime Community would like to take this opportunity to launch our global initiative in front of you. So please bear with me while I put up a PowerPoint presentation of what we have to offer in GMC. Hope all of you can see this. So we are the Federation of Global Maritime Community. Together we are great, and our community is a not-for-profit organization committed to shaping the future of seafarers for their well-being. And here we are talking of approximately 1.5 million seafarers, right? So we know that the maritime industry is a diverse industry with countless career opportunities. This can at the same time be very exciting and scary, right? So at GMC, we will try and make this journey easier for our seafarers, and we will try and resolve all your queries through our GMC expert family. Well, this is our founder and president. Most of you, or all of you, would be familiar with Dr. Binay Kumar Singh. He's a maritime mentor and a life coach, and he's based out of Odessa in Ukraine. His famous saying is, treat people as you like to be treated. And I have to say that he believes in this and he follows this. Our main pillars of foundation are based on the following 6 guiding principles: leadership focus community, spreading joy throughout the maritime community, building stronger careers, and then this is of course a community and not a service, creating a gender equal workplace in the industry, and last but not the least, perhaps the most important, spreading empathy, love, and enthusiasm. So with that in mind, we have made our vision and mission to help the common individual live a more fruitful and enjoyable life and grow our maritime family, right? And of course, the grand goal of changing the world in a more positive environment. So why was this needed? So we realized that we need to have a sense of networking and of course empowerment and then personal growth. So with these fundamentals and cornerstones in mind, we thought that this community would be helpful for the industry, and that's why we have sort of embarked upon this journey. And to do so, we have our founding members, right? Dr. Binay, of course, whom you know, myself, Kaushik Seal. Then we have Amit Kumar Sharma, who's based in India. He's our youth leader. And of course, we have our GMC leader for Asia and the Middle East, Mohit Kapoor. And we have the gracious Sonali Banerjee, our GMC leader, who's basically involved with the women in the maritime industry. Yeah, and last but not the least, the very charming and beautiful Olympia Papazoglu, our GMC leader from Europe. So with those initial words, we would like to begin our discussion, really. And we hope you like that. And we also hope that you will fully support in our endeavors toward helping the seafaring community at large. Right. So we actually already had a question while we were registering participants, and this one actually goes out for Olympia, our GMC leader for Europe, who has been actively involved in the maritime and oil and gas domain in that region for a long time. So this question we thought that we should answer upfront as it came as an important part of the registration process. So this goes as follows. We as seafarers are facing a lot of challenge on our day-to-day jobs, especially now with the COVID situation. We stay much longer on board, and many of us haven't seen our families for more than a year. Thus, how does a changing perspective and mindset help us in these situations? So I would request Olympia to take this question and answer this to the extent possible. Olympia, please.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kaushik, for the introduction. This is very, very important question. And I will start by saying that human beings are conditioned to focus too much on the external circumstances and to give up their power in the external circumstances. So what they mention about COVID, about staying more time on board, or challenges that they face every day are external circumstances that they're happening anyways. You cannot control them, but something that everybody forgets is that we control this ourselves. So by changing the way that you look at the circumstances, you change everything. For instance, instead of focusing too much on the negative that the situation creates, you can ask a very important question. What is great about that? What is good about that? See always the good in every situation. For instance, I can take this extra time of board to learn a new skill or to plan my next steps. Maybe you want to change career or do something else. Now it's a great opportunity to think about that, to take this time for myself. If I go back to my family, I get involved in family, I get affected by my environment for my decision, maybe to change career or plan something else. But now it's an opportunity, that is the great about it, to plan for the future. Or whatever opportunity you can think. Great questions unlock our brain, and our brain is a magnificent tool that we have to know how to use it properly. Hopefully this answers the question.
Yep. Thank you very much, Olympia, for those kind perspective. And so moving on, we have received a lot of questions already from the audience. And of course, we will try and answer them to the extent possible and time permitting. We will also open the floor for questions at the end, and then you can raise your hand. I mean, there is this raising the hand option in Teams, and once your turn is allocated, you can unmute, and if you want, you can switch on your camera and then ask the question or make your comment. So our first panelist for today is Captain Cuba Szymanski, and it gives me immense pleasure to introduce him to this august audience. Captain Cuba is the Secretary General for Intermanager, the International Trade Association for the Ship and Crew Management sector. He started his sea career in 1985. He graduated from the Maritime University in Szczecin with a master's degree and started his deck officer career with Dorchester Maritime Limited, Isle of Man, where he sailed on gas, chemical, and product tankers, reaching his first command as a master in 1999. To support his managerial skills, he attended the Lloyd's Academy and obtained a certificate in ship superintendence before gaining an MBA at the International Business School, Isle of Man, and John Moores University in Liverpool. In his roles ashore, Captain Cuba worked as a marine superintendent, HSEQ manager, fleet manager, and general manager. For the past 8 years, he has been the Secretary General of Intermanager. Captain Cuba is a familiar face on the International Maritime Lecture Circuit. For the past 16 years, he has also lectured on ship management at the International Business School in the Isle of Man. Through his role with Intermanager, he has participated in many industry-wide projects, including the production of international shipping industry KPIs and Save Our Seafarers campaign, and most recently the Martha project, which focuses on seafarer fatigue at sea, and is currently chairing the HEIG Enclosed Space Committee. In July 2018, he was awarded an honorary doctorate by Solent Southampton University in recognition of his contribution to the maritime industry. In his leisure time, I wonder where he finds it after doing all this. Cuba is a keen yachtsman and races sail his Benito first 40.7 competitively around Europe, mostly double or single-handedly. We now request Captain Cuba to address the audience with his initial thoughts on the topic. Captain Cuba, please.
Thank you, Kaushik. Yes, welcome and good morning, good afternoon, everybody. So I'll start with this. It's 27th of March 2020, and we've got a message that airlines are starting to close down. Panic? Not really. Ship management never panics. We need to come up with solutions immediately, and that's what we do. So very quickly, shipping industry, NGOs, non-governmental organizations got together, and we created a committee. We were meeting every Tuesday and Wednesday, every week, discussing what's happening and what solutions do we have. I would like to remind us all that at the very beginning, the world was in absolute panic, especially when things were closing. Airports, airlines, borders. Could we afford not to travel our seafarers? Of course we couldn't. We had a situation, and to understand what the scope was, let me call some KPIs, key performance indicators. In a good day, before the pandemic, shipping industry was running on a 4% seafarers being overdue. And overdue seafarer is whatever your contract says plus 1 day. So if your contract says 4 months plus 1 month, or minus, then it will be your 5 months and 1 day you are overdue. And on a regular day, it is 4% seafarers are overdue. Now, in June, July last year, we hit 67% seafarers being overdue. That's a serious number. Now we went down and we are back to 15% again. Now, how did we achieve that? Obviously by hard work of people at sea and ashore. And I'll give you examples now. Do you remember when India closed and did not allow Indians to come back to India? That's disaster. We had to lobby hard and really fast with Indian government, saying you can't do that. You've got your own citizens waiting. They cannot be in Dubai, Philippines, or somewhere else. We need to do something. I'll move to Oleg now. We had a situation where Ukraine was not receiving people, and we had to invent something. So we very quickly lined up or aligned with countries which were very good with us. And those countries were Germany, Holland, and UK. They did not close borders. They did not close airports. So we were quickly able to establish bridges. So Polish seafarers had to be transferred by taxis or buses to Berlin and then fly off from Berlin. Then we welcomed Kyiv opening. Wow, but until Kyiv opened, we were using Belarus because Belarus, Minsk was open. So that's thanks to people like Oleg and his colleagues ashore who were very quickly thinking, how can we actually overcome the problem? So what I'm trying to tell you, seafarers, it was never a situation like, oh, gee, what are we going to do now? No, thinking hard all the time, yes, we can. Very recently, we had a situation, only at the very beginning of this year, where France, Belgium, and Holland said no flights from UK. And that would be disastrous. We've got so many ships in Aberdeen. We have to fly them somehow, all the Polish officers, Ukrainians. And then we immediately, within 12 hours, found out that we can actually fly from Aberdeen to Kiev. and then from Kiev to Berlin and everywhere else. And that's what we do. Guys, we find solutions. Yes, now I would like to, finishing of my starting speech, Olympia addressed the question. And I would like to reinforce what Olympia was saying. Always try to find a good thing out of the bad one. Always remember there is tomorrow. Now, these of you who are asking a question, oh, I'm staying too long on board of a ship. I tell you guys, you are far better than those who are sitting at home because you are earning money. And those who are sitting at home are running out of money. They cannot pay loans, they cannot pay for their kids to go to school, and so on and so forth. Oleg is laughing now because Oleg understands that very well. This is the problem. When people are knocking on your door in office and saying, Oleg, what the, when am I going to see? I want now. And we are saying, yes, that's difficult, and we will place you, don't worry. And also, we have to remember that people who are at sea now are not necessarily liking to go back home. We've got so many demands to stay longer because they know that if they do come back home, they don't know how long they will be home and whether they will be able to earn money. So if you're on board, I'm not saying that you should be very happy that you have been extended, but find the positives. And the positive thing is you are supporting your family, your immediate family and your further family. You are working. And by the way, you are working in an extremely safe environment. We had very, very few COVID incidents on board of the ships. You guys are in a very safe environment. My 5 minutes elapsed. Thank you, Kaushik.
Thank you very much, Cuba, for those initial thoughts. And it really sets the tone. And it's really key to have a positive outlook, throughout this journey, really. Well, our second panelist for today is Mr. Oleg, and it gives me immense pleasure to introduce him to this esteemed audience. Mr. Oleg has considerable seagoing experience. He graduated from the Odessa National Maritime Academy and worked as a navigation officer of the merchant ships on board foreign ship owners till 2008. Since 2008, he has been working with the Marine Transport Workers Trade Union of Ukraine. And then in 2011, he was elected as the vice chairman of this union. In 2015, he was elected as a chairman of the Long Black Sea Trade Union Organization for Seafarers. Mr. Oleg is a member of the Congress of International Transport Workers Federation, the ITF, as you all know it, and the ITF Fair Practices Committee, whereas he's a permanent observer of the ITF Fair Practices Steering Group. On behalf of the Ukrainian seafarers, Oleg is the chief negotiator at the International Bargaining Forum that acts together with the International Maritime Employers Council, IMEC, and the Norwegian Shipowners Association and the Royal Association of Netherlands Shipowners, and of course the Danish Shipowners Association. Under the aegis of MTWTU, Oleg has become the first certified trainer of trainers on MLC in Ukraine. He graduated from ITC ILO in 2010. And in 2019, he's been nominated by the IMO as the IMO Goodwill Ambassador in Ukraine. With those words, we now request Mr. Oleg to address the audience with his initial thoughts on the topic. Oleg, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kushik. It's absolutely great pleasure to see you all. Due to Dr. Binay's support and help, I was invited as one of the panelists. It's such a pleasure to see you all and address you all on behalf of Marine Transport Workers Trade Union of Ukraine. And we forgot to mention that I'm also the vice president of the International Association of Maritime Captains, IPSMA, which also gives me another platform to address the problems of Ukrainian seafarers on the world level, let's say. And I want to reflect what Cuba already mentioned. There is the two big different things and the totally different problematics. When the seafarer stays at sea and his contract is almost over or already over, and we understand that there is a big issue how to get him back home. But there is another group of people who are staying home, waiting for the next voyage without any opportunity to pay the bills. And this is where we were doing quite a good job by providing additional financial assistance to our union members, which were staying at home more than 6 months due to the COVID and due to the restrictions. And especially from March to July, we had a really stressful situation where the big number of Ukrainian seafarers were stuck on board the ships, and the even larger army of Ukrainian seafarers were staying home without being able to start their work and to start getting some money for the family. So we were there to help them and support both categories, and we were making a lot of efforts to make the green channels for safe and effective disembarkation of the seafarers. And we're working with our other ITF affiliates like Verdi in Germany, like Nautilus in Netherlands, in order to organize the safe trips from board the ships to the skip hole and to Berlin and Hamburg, in order to get seafarers back. As Kuba already mentioned, via Belarus, that was the only way. Think of it, in 21st century, we had the walking crossing the border from Belarus to Ukraine, and then this logistical chain was also established in order to arrange the effective and safe for the seafarers transition. So it's been stressful, but I think we managed to deliver. And we, due to our statistics, less than 15% of all Ukrainian seafarers now have the overdue contracts, and almost all the seafarers who at least applied to us for help, they're already on board the ships and they started their work. So being frank, nobody was ready, but we got together as an industry, as the world industry, which is the one of the key industries in the world business and in the world of shipping, was together to save the situation and to continue work closely. And we're continuing to work closely now in order, if there will be a wave number 2, number 3, or whatever, how many waves we're going to expect. We are there to continue to arrange all possible for our seafarers on board the ships and at home. With this, thank you very much, and I hope I will be able to answer all the questions which may rise, and I'm really glad to see you all.
Thank you, Oleg, for those initial thoughts and kind words, and thanks for your support. Binay has told me if I ever go to Odessa, after meeting him, I have to go and meet you. So I will keep that in mind. Right. Okay. Right. So our third panelist for the day is Captain Girish Fadnis, whom I have known personally for quite some time now, and it gives me immense pleasure to introduce him to this esteemed audience. Captain Girish is from the batch of 1977 direct entry with the India Steamship Company. He got command in 1989 with Univan Ship Management and sailed as a master till the year 2000. After that, he worked ashore with fleet management in Kolkata and then shifted to Mumbai as the managing director of ASP Ship Management and as head of group business development of the Asia region till 2018. He's currently the founder and CEO of Maritime and has started private chartered flights during the pandemic times, operating over 100 flights for seafarers. Wow. A sportsperson by passion, having represented India in rowing at international events and in top administration positions of world bodies. We now request Captain Fadnis to address the audience with his initial thoughts on the topic. Captain Fadnis, please.
Thank you, Kaushik. It's a pleasure to be on this panel and in front of this audience. Pandemic 2020, when it all started, one really did not know where we are heading and how things are going to span out over the time, especially in the earlier stages of March and April, when India, being one of the major crew providers worldwide, we had a total lockdown in India. And it was only somewhere in the middle of May that things started opening up, because we were also trying to figure out how would people travel from various parts of the country and come to Delhi or Mumbai, which was from where we could have operated some flights. It was the initiative, I guess, of Masa and Fosma, that they had started off planning these chartered flights. And of course, big players like Synergy and Fleet and Bernard Schulte, they were also into the game. But then there was a huge gap, and that gap had to be filled. So that is when I conceived the thought of private charters. Not an easy thing to start off with. And we teamed up. I teamed up with we are Maritime, and we started off these chartered flights. Getting permissions, getting the government to liaise with everybody. See, the issue what we were having in India was there's so many ship management companies and crewing companies, and not everybody are members of FOSA and MASA. Second issue, and a major issue, was how many would you allocate in each flight to a company? You have a company like Anglo Eastern and you tell them you've got only 30 seats, which would not even suffice for one vessel. So that is when these chartered flights came in, permissions started coming in, things started falling into place. And as the months grew, you'll be surprised to know that between all these flights and the owners and the association, I think we had a crew change of almost 150,000 people. That was a huge amount. Help of authorities came in. Things started falling into place. I would personally feel the Director General of Shipping played a vital role in this. Maybe the ministry and the people on top, MEA, Ministry of External Affairs, they realized that they have to give the DG Shipping. And Amitabh ji came in very positive in this whole thing by giving permissions for these chartered flights to take off. And that was, I think, a very crucial point where people could start getting their seafarers out and in. And like we said, Doha was they used this particular time during the pandemic to have flights all over the world. Doha was the hub. So basically what the charterers and the companies were doing, they were flying people up to Doha. And from there, there were international flights by Qatar Air going all over the world. So that was a very positive, I would say, situation. And like earlier, Captain Krupa and Olympia were saying, that frustration, yes, of course, it will be on board. When you finish your contract, you're not getting to sign off. But then what we were trying to tell through various social media, that you have to have patience. You have to have patience, trust that companies are doing their best. The companies were doing their best at that time. And you have to always keep a positive mind. And instead of trying to see the negativity of what would happen to them. So, we should get calls from all over the place, and we should tell them, my friends, stay where you are at this point of time. The situation back home is not good. First, you're losing your job. There are people waiting. There are no jobs available. Cruise liners had shut down. And it was a chaos all over. So now things seem to, the first wave has gone. It's a very difficult situation, because somewhere for the last month and a half, 2 months, we're getting the bubble flights flying all over the world. Now, as we stand, UK is closing down. We're hearing things about Dubai, that they're going to have restrictions there. Singapore is having its own problems. So again, we are into the situation where how do we change crew again? Because the people who went from the middle of 2020 have already finished 6, 7, 8, 9 months on board, and they're now eagerly waiting to come back. So what we are trying to do is gain this momentum. The companies, this is a suggestion which we are trying to give the owners and the companies, that they have to get together. It can't be your flight, my flight. It has to be our flight, and couple in a couple of vessels at a particular place, and then use that as a crew transfer. It becomes economical, cost comes down, and people can move again. Because now I think Malay is opening up, Sri Lanka has opened up again for crew change. They have put a passenger vessel called Angria to avoid all these isolation center issues on land. They've placed a passenger vessel there off Gaul, where people are coming in and going out. So we are now running regular flights to Sri Lanka. That's a point which hopefully we'll see how the things move ahead in the next month or so, and it'll help. It'll help crew change. That's what the whole idea is. Great. So this is, thank you once again for being here. I hope the questions that come up, we'll be able to satisfactorily answer and at least address them. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Captain Girish, for those initial thoughts, and very nice to see you're in the thick of action, and then putting the last mile, as they say, and helping to bridge that gap, the so much needed bridging the gap. So thanks for the support. Right. Before we have a lot of questions, and I will start, of course, very soon. But before that, I would just like to ask our panelists, Cuba and Oleg, in case you have any, further comments before we get into, the question and answer session. If there's anything you would like to add or comment or put a perspective on. Cuba, you can go first.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yes, so the complexity is being mentioned here, but I would like to reassure everyone who's listening to us today that the cooperation has been absolutely fabulous. There is a big misconception about the IMO. People are saying IMO should do this, IMO should do that, and so on and so forth. Dear listeners, IMO is us. There is no such a thing like a, I don't know, big first secretary or whoever. IMO is the organization of 178 nations. Ukraine is one of them. India is one of them. Poland is one of them. UK is one of them. So you guys, need to get through your associations, through your organizations, and get on to IMO and do things which we need to change. And I'm delighted, actually, that cooperation with IMO over the last 8, 9, 10 months now has been fabulous. We have been able to push through so many things which usually take years, but this time it took very little. And another comment I wanted to make. I am very cross with journalists, and I would like to pass this anger to you in a way that please do not believe everything you read, because they love bad news. And Girish just mentioned something. UK is closing. This is bullshit. UK is not closing. So when we spread the word like that, people are saying, oh, I'm flying to UK, UK is closing. Check it and double check it. UK is not closing. We've got another issue. People don't like people from UK, but not seafarers. So when you are reading something, remember, it's not addressed to the seafarers, it's addressed to the general public. And indeed, when general public is not allowed to fly to Kiev, seafarers are allowed. And you guys are special. We are fighting for status of key workers because very often this is, frankly speaking, bullshit. Countries are saying, oh, you are a key worker. What does it mean? And we are checking. But there are some countries like Romania, for example, which has bumped up seafarers now, and they are first in line for vaccination, for example. And that's what we need to do. So I'm now talking to my Indian colleagues and saying, guys, don't wait for IMO. It is you, Indians in India, who have to put the pressure on Indian government to bump up seafarers to become a key workers and be vaccinated, because otherwise we will be unemployed. And that's what we need to do. And don't wait, like Olympia said, don't wait for the external factors to do something for you, because they are not going to do. It is us. We have to take things into our hands. And I'm talking to the global leaders here on this call. Guys, this is my homework. This is your homework. This is what we need to do. And now I will thank you.
Right. Thanks, Cuba, for that. No, I mean we have to state the correct perspective so we all know, and even if that requires us to step on a few corns here and there, never mind. But we should do the correct thing, and in order to help the seafaring community, we have to act as a single voice. It's much needed, and it's about time we do that. So thanks for that comment, Cuba. Oleg, anything like before we move on to a question, because the first one I have should actually is addressed to you. So like, let me then jump into the question straight away. Yeah, I was just reading that. So yeah.
Yeah, if you allow me, I will just give a short comment.
Sure.
Just want to get back to the beginning of the history of COVID and what was our first reaction as the union. We have made the official statement straight away when we understood that everything shuts down and we will have the very foggy perspective, let's say. So we have issued a statement where we were quite, let's say, critical in terms of our partners. We said, guys, you see what's happening. We're kindly asking you, we were addressing the ship owners and ship managers. We were asking, guys, don't use this situation, in fact, for your own benefit. So please be as well-being orientated as ever, because we now need to work together, and you can't use the situation to make some additional profit or something like that, which offended in a sense some of our partners, saying we've always been human orientated and we're very kind. And I said, guys, those are our partners who we know and we work together and we have collective bargaining agreements together. We know that you are there. We know that you will take care of our seafarers, but we are addressing the community as such, and there are still some ship owners and ship managers who are taking advantage in these circumstances, and they're holding seafarers on board the ships, and they are trying to make some additional profit, where it's, let's say, in our face is not necessary. So we were just saying that, and why I'm saying this now, because I want to thank all our partners who we work together and we still work together, and we're growing together, and we're having those joint challenges together, and we managed to address them, and we managed to survive in these hardships. So there always be a difficult ship owners, and will be the ship owners who we are good partners with. So we're just there, and we want to address the seafarers as well, that it's very important that you raise your voice and you address the problem, and you get connected with your union, with the well-being organizations, with charity funds, with those people who exist to help you, to support you, to coordinate the support which you might need. It's very important that you will raise your hand, you raise your voice, and you say that we have a problem, because we still have numerous cases where seafarers stay on board 7, 8, 11, 12 months without even saying that there is a problem, that there is no food, no proper water, no payment, and so on and so on. If there is an issue, you need to address it here and now. Don't wait for anything, and don't expect that someone will come and just solve your issues.
Right. Thanks, Oleg, for that comment. Really. Okay. So now we'll move on to take the questions from the audience. Now, the audience has already, actually, people who have registered, they asked a few questions already, and I would like to first ask those questions to our esteemed panelists, right? So I will ask a question, and in case one of the three panelists who would take that question, if you could just sort of raise your hand and then, of course, answer that, so that to avoid a double answering, right? So the first one, however, I see should technically go to Oleg, because it talks about ITF. So maybe you are in the best position to answer that. It asks, Do you think the ITF, who are of course paid huge sums of money a year by the various shipping companies to protect the seafarers, do you think that the ITF is doing enough internationally, and they are helping strongly to resolve this issue? So that's probably a question to you, Oleg, about the ITF and its activities.
Yeah, but I will definitely need to say that internally, the ITF and its affiliates were doing a huge amount of work, and international connection was established at the first instance. So since the beginning of March, we were doing within the ITF Seafarers Trust, we were having the regular meetings with the labor providing countries: India, Philippines, Indonesia, Ukraine, Russia. So all those largest labor providers were getting together, and we're sharing what's happening on the national level and what can be done internationally to solve specific issues. So I'm telling you that I was the participant of those of them, all of them, and we were addressing the issues. And I know that Steve Cotton, the General Secretary of the ITF, was addressing the community, the maritime officials, IMO, all UN organizations almost on the daily basis. We were following him, we were following his statements, and he was urging to open the borders. He was urging to call the seafarers, the key workers, and give first priority on the border controls and safe disembarkations in the largest hubs in the world. So there was a lot of stuff done, in fact, to secure the ITF full 100% involvement in all the issues which were connected to the COVID. And now the first lobby goes from the ITF concerning the priority of the vaccination of the seafarers worldwide, again, comes from the ITF. So there was a lot of things done. I understand that there are a lot of people who were stuck on board the ships, and they were claiming, and there was a huge load of work for the ITF inspectorate. And I can give you the Ukrainian example. We quadrupled the number of regular claims concerning the end of the contract claims. There was a huge flood of claims, calls, anonymous calls concerning the ship visits, concerning the end of contract, concerning non-salary payments. So there was a totally different number, much larger than the regular one. And I can imagine that the rest of the IDF inspectors worldwide were having the same situation. So everybody we are all in the same boat, and we understand that there was a lot of done, and so we're doing it every day to support individual seafarers, to support the crew. And as the ITF was done, to my understanding, enough and more to secure all possible help. And we don't need to forget that there was established a special emergency fund, which was distributed among the largest labor providers in order to establish the vaccination, in order to establish the testing, in order to establish distribution among the seafarers of the specific masks and all this protective
PPE.
PPE, goggles, gloves, and stuff. So that was done again by the ITF, and it was done really quickly. So yeah, I think that was. I do understand that there might be individual cases where they were not possible to support individual seafarers, which might get the negative effect. But trust me, there was a lot of things done, and people were working 24/7 to support thousands and thousands of seafarers.
Right. Thanks, Oleg. No, I'm sure this answers the basic query. Sometimes it's difficult to directly see what's happening because there's behind the scenes work which happens, and maybe the seafarer on board doesn't really get to see. It's like an iceberg effect. You only get to see the little bit right on top, and most of the hard work behind the scenes doesn't get to sort of come out to the surface. But I'm sure it's all work in progress, and hopefully we win. Right? Okay, so moving on, the next question. Let me read this out. The underdeveloped countries, especially Nigeria, faced with a lot of challenges in the maritime sector, especially in crew matters. What are the recommendations and suggestions by the panel to assist these developing countries grow and raise their heads in shipping matters? So who would be most qualified to answer this? Cuba, sure. Please go ahead.
Yeah, okay, Nigeria. I was here in Nigeria. I thought the people will be talking about the piracy immediately because we just had a terrible accident last weekend when a ship called Mozart was attacked and Citadel bridged, 15 people hijacked. But coming to Nigeria, Nigeria is actually well established in shipping industry as far as shipping companies are concerned. There is a pretty good training system, and there is a very good there is something happening. Could you confirm that you can hear me? Hello? Yeah, okay. That must be my broadband. So Nigeria is pretty well established, and obviously there are some big companies present in Nigeria already exploring LNG, for example. So I don't think there is much we can do from outside, except Nigerians, again, taking things into their hands and killing corruption to start with, because that's the biggest issue in Nigeria we've got. If Nigerians don't help themselves, then it will be very difficult to help them. We would love to assist, but hey, we need to do something about it. So that would be my comment on it. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Cuba. I hope that addresses at least part of this issue, right? Then the next one, I think this is for Captain Fadnis. For the chartered flights, what was it easy to arrange the chartered flights, and or what were the challenges faced by the crew during these like chartered flights, if any? So probably you can take this one.
Yeah, you see, arranging a chartered flight was not an issue, because you must realize at that point of time, when all the other flights were stopped, all the aircrafts were available and waiting for doing some business. So when we approached any of these larger players in India, Indigo or SpiceJet, they were ready to come up and help in getting. The main concern that we had was, like internally, being a large country, how do we get these people across various state borders and bring them into a location in Mumbai or Chennai or Delhi? That was the challenge we used to face. And then each state had their own SOPs, and you have to overcome those issues. And then slowly, as the COVID duration started going passing, as we came into April, May, and June, things started falling into place, and each state started coordinating with the other state, and mariners were given the priority thanks to the ministry. The coordination started taking its own shape, and finally the government decided to give it to the Director General of Shipping for the approvals for the mariners to travel, even to the extent that foreigners who were stuck in India, they were allowed to sign off and travel abroad. And like when countries started opening up, and what Captain Cuba mentioned earlier, he's right. I mean, UK is not in a shutdown mode. What I was trying to say was that during that period when they had this initial December end and January, there was panic in India, because how would you travel? Right now, there are flights going from Dubai to UK, and BA has opened up its flights again. So that's okay. I mean, that's it's a sequential event that will keep happening. One has to keep waiting and seeing what opens, what closes, what restrictions, because we are more concerned about the restrictions each country puts in. The quarantine rule, you have 14 days quarantine somewhere, you have 7 days quarantine somewhere. How do you manage to bring a ship in and get your people into that same port with the rules and SOPs placed by that country? That is where the challenge is right now. So
right. So Girish, what was, I mean, from a crew perspective, was there anything which sort of they had to go through extra, or was it more of a burden when they went through these chartered flights? I mean, is that sort of
as long as they could reach the point of takeoff, it
right?
was a problem because they had to pass the various state borders and come in and reach. It was just not reaching. We had to get the COVID test done. So, the isolation is required. Right? Like as of today, if you're talking Sri Lanka, where we are having charter
Right.
flights along with Maritime and K
Right.
Maritime, we are doing flights to Sri Lanka. The
Right.
SOP of Sri Lanka says 3 days of isolation.
Right.
If a flight originates from Chennai, the seafarers have to be placed in Chennai 72 hours in isolation, do a COVID test within 72 hours of the flight. So these are the challenges, it's more
Right.
not for them, it is for the managers. They have to ensure that all this falls into place. The travel history of their last 3 weeks, the temperature control, everything has to be maintained. So it is an additional burden. But people are very cooperative because they're getting jobs. They're again joining ships. They're looking forward for going back on board. So it's a win
Right.
situation for everybody.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I hope that addresses the query. Then moving on, we have this question. How do we reach the equilibrium point for both demand and supply of workforce so that we don't see any diminishing marginal quality of our seafarers in the maritime industry? That's a very good question, actually. And I would request, Cuba, yeah, I see his raised hands. Cuba, please.
Okay, what's happening, what we are noticing now, because Philippines had the biggest problem at the very beginning and continues to have an issue. Let me give you some figures. On the regular day, there is 40,000 seafarers monthly flying out of Manila and 40,000 have to come back. With COVID, especially at the very beginning when we had limitations of 1,500, or first of all, we had 1,000 and 1,500 passengers in Manila. That doesn't mean all could be seafarers. So we had only something like maybe 700 seafarers. Multiply that by 30 days, you will see immediately that Manila was not able to handle it. So all of a sudden, a lot of Filipino seafarers were not able to fly out and fly in. What happened? We started seeing Ukrainians and Polish being employed in the same place. Now, equilibrium, as you can see, the world of shipping does not stop. I think we should be extremely proud, those listening here, that shipping industry always finds the solution. If we were to compare ourselves with air industry, travel agencies, anything, you will see then a huge difference. There is not a single ship which stopped. We guys, thanks to you, thanks to everybody on this call, found the solutions, and that's what is happening. So how we are finding it? Well, with difficulty, but we are finding it. We are always coming up with some solutions. Obviously, Philippines, Manila was helped by other countries. And I don't know whether you realize there were 22 passenger ships berthed in Manila, acting as not hospitals, as quarantining places. Some of the cruise industry couldn't fly their cruise. They actually pool the resources and put people on one ship and sail the ship from US to Philippines to transfer seafarers and so on and so forth. So this is how I would answer this question. We are here to find solutions. We are finding it. Obviously, people ashore are overburdened as well, because imagine we were working 100% before COVID hit, and then all of a sudden we've got all these issues. But as you can see, and as Oleg was mentioning before, we do find solutions for that. So that's my answer. Thank you.
Right. Thanks. Right. We have a particular question which states, at the moment, many embassies are closed in a lot of countries where our seafarers are based, and therefore we are unable to apply for Schengen visas for crew to travel to Europe. Has anyone found any solutions to this problem? So, yep. Yes, Cuba.
Okay, again, Philippines as an example. Any European embassy will issue Schengen visa. So you don't have to go to the Dutch one if you're flying to Holland, for example. And European Commission was very quick to listen to our comments, and they gave this order, and ships crews were immediately helped, addressed by those. I'm not sure what's happening in India, for example, but again, Schengen visa can be issued by any Schengen country. Therefore, I would be seriously surprised if your crew agent is using this as an example, as an excuse not to give it. You can always get in touch with organizations like mine, for example, Intertanko, Intercargo, Intermanager. Get in touch with us, guys. ITF, if you are an ITF member, get in touch with ITF. Oleg would be only too happy to give you an answer for that. So don't just come up with those ideas, check them. As I was saying earlier on, journalists love to tell you the bad story. Don't trust, it's a fake news. Go and check that. Thank you.
True. Thanks for those positive thoughts, Cuba. And maybe something related to this, when would seafarers be vaccinated? Is there a plan in place, and is there a strategy in place to get the seafarers vaccinated? Yeah, Oleg has a raised hand. Oleg, please.
Yeah,
Oleg, please
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kaushik. Yeah, I wanted to reflect just the small note to the previous question concerning the visas.
Please.
Yeah, we
Please.
were not facing directly this issue because not long ago, Ukrainians were allowed to travel without Schengen visa. And we didn't expect that was proper timing, because if we had additional issue with the visas, that could make the idea more complicated with the traveling of the seafarers. But we in fact didn't have that, and we since I remember, we were discussing the issue of transiting. There was never mentioned that there is the real problems with the Schengen visa, because for the Russians it's still the case. They need to apply for the Russian visas, and for the first I think that the first quarter, March, April, there was some talks about it, but I think it was already the countries managed to regulate it, and as far as I know, the Russians are making certain progress concerning the Schengen visa application, so they're not having the problem now.
Delay but milta hai in India.
Right. Okay.
So vaccination.
Yeah. So vaccination. Would you like to take that as well, Oleg, while you're at it?
Yes, please. Just a short one. Well, as I mentioned before, that Steve Cotton raised on the ITF level internationally on our international meeting, that the vaccination for the seafarers should be a priority for the individual countries, especially when there is a large number of the seafarers. And we have already addressed the Ukrainian Cabinet of Ministers with a draft law, where we are giving them the understanding that we expect from the government to make certain steps within the Ministry of Health, that the seafarers need to be mentioned as the key workers, and that they should be in the priority list of the vaccination. But we also understand that the reality is that, only bearing in mind that Ukraine is not at the top list of getting the vaccinations, getting the vaccines from our international partners, we expect that only the medical and army will be in the priority list, at first priority list, let's say. But anyway, we need to make declaratively, we need to say that this needs to be adopted, obviously, to make this signed, let's say, that the seafarers need to be the first to get the vaccine.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Anybody else has a comment? Yes, Girish, please go ahead. Girish, you're muted. You have to unmute yourself. Yes. Yeah.
You see, what we're all seeing is the same thing now. Like, for example, in India, when we're talking about both the things, when I talk about Schengen visa, yes, we do get Schengen visas through some country, as it's not a requirement to have a specific visa for that particular place. So Schengen visas are available through the embassies here, and it takes its own time, but that's okay. But it's not that it is shut down or anything. So that's good. And what if you realize world over, with the vaccine coming in and India taking a quite a prominent role in this, our organizations here in India are trying to emphasize with the government and the health ministry that these seafarers who are actually traveling should be vaccinated, should be given the vaccine, because they should be considered as a priority worker. So if that finally comes through, and the government accepts, it will be a big boon for shipping. Like anybody traveling, like we have to do a COVID test, they have to be vaccinated also. So if that happens, oh, well, we really won a part of our whole exercise. So keeping up fingers crossed on that.
Right. I just hope that happens soon. Yes, Cuba, please go ahead.
Okay, for last 6 weeks, there has been created a industry vaccination task force, and Intermanager is part of it, together with other NGOs. And what we have been doing is basically selling the ideas from the seafarers and from shipping companies into WHO, IMO, EU, and so on and so forth, to make them understand. Maybe you saw yesterday there is a Neptune declaration signed. That was extremely important for us, guys. You may say, oh, that's another blah, blah, blah. No, it's not. The problem is that we do not have charterers thinking about seafarers. And with Neptune declaration, there is a step forward that Amazon of this world, Google of this world will understand that there will be no iPhone in your home if it wasn't seafarers. There will be no power supply if it wasn't seafarer, not to mention bread, butter, and medicine. So this is very important step forward. Okay, seafarers may think that's nothing to do with us. It's a lot to do with you guys, because only, as Oleg says, local governments have to put up seafarers into the key worker status to get them vaccinated. I've already mentioned Romania. I already mentioned Slovenia. Brazil is doing that as well. I would caution you to watch Singapore, because Singapore is trying to sell themselves as a very seafarer friendly, but actually what they are doing now is vaccinating workers who are working on docks, so basically dock workers, which is not bad for us seafarers either, because that means we will be in contact with people who are vaccinated. Now, what's the question was, what's the strategy? You probably hear nowadays that we've got different vaccinations available, and majority of them are double shots. This is not very good for seafarers, actually, because it means you have to have 3 weeks in between shots. So there is a Johnson & Johnson vaccination available, and we believe that this would be preferred by shipping. And the idea is to vaccinate seafarers when they are at home. And there is another issue with that. You need to prove that you have been vaccinated. So there is a huge discussion about the vaccination passports. Would we use yellow books? And maybe we will have something stamped in a passport. This is still being debated, not only for seafarers, for anybody who is traveling. But those things are being discussed every Thursday. So tomorrow, 10 o'clock GMT, there is a vaccination task force, and those issues are being discussed. We've got another very big issue for us. What about COVID veterans, those seafarers who fell sick when at home with COVID? Unfortunately, when they travel, PCR test proves positive, but they are already with antibodies. So we are pushing for border controls to understand that there is another test. And we are talking to ICAO and IATA, which is the airlines, and trying, and successfully actually, shipping was able to put foot in a doorway explaining to the air industry what seafarers do, what is COVID veteran, what tests to prove, and so on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So lots happening, and I hope that will put the audience, the majority of audience, at ease, and think that this is obviously help is on its way, right? So well, in the interest of time, we'll just take one last question here before we open the floor to the audience to see if they have any questions. There's this question which asks, what more can be expected to enhance the rights of a seafarer after they have been abandoned by the ship owners? Wow, this is a tough one. Cuba, I guess, yeah, this falls into your bucket,
Very
right?
good. Now, this is a lot you guys can do with yourself, to be honest. Now, statistics, how many ships we've got abandoned. And on average, and I have to put the context here, we've got 120,000 ships around the world in international trade nowadays. 120,000. Last year, we had 80 ships, 80, abandoned by the owners. Now, surprise, surprise, you will be very pushed to find Filipino seafarers being abandoned. Ask yourself a question, why is this possible that Filipinos are not being abandoned? The answer to that is simple, because they signed proper contracts. Seafarers in Philippines are very well protected. They have to sign a contract with somebody who is recognizable. Therefore, guys, do not sign contract or don't go to sea without contract. Make sure that you check your contract through ITF, for example, or check whatever. You make sure that you are not signing contract with somebody who is absolutely dodgy, because you will end up on a ship which is being abandoned. Interestingly enough, the most abandoned ships are usually in Dubai area. And we know all of this. We control the situation. And I'm bold. You see, I'm tearing my hair out seeing seafarers signing contracts or not signing contracts and going to sea. So don't look at me. Make sure that whenever you are signing contract, you leave one copy with your wife. You tell her who is your agent, who is your crewing agent, who do you work with. If anything happens where she should know Alex Stumber, at least, who is the ITF representative. So if anything happens to you, your wife, your partner knows where to go, how to help itself and themselves as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good pointers, Cuba. Yes, Oleg.
Yeah, definitely. This is the issue we are dealing with quite often. Maybe I'm not as bold as Cuba is, but I might be bold in some other places, because this is the issues we're dealing on the daily basis. And we are, as per statistics of the 2019, we are having the disgraceful second place in the number of abandonments for the Ukrainian crew. It's like more than 50 people, as far as I remember, which again tells us that we have a huge lack of basic knowledge about your rights. Yeah, Ukrainian seafarers in specific, they are not calling to the union before the voyage, let's say. And this is what we know and we recognize as the problem. What can be done? We have already initiated the discussion on the IMO level, which was initiated by our representative of Ukraine in the IMO, due to our constant push and support. And we think that very, very shortly we will have this specific issue concerning the abandonment, and specific issue of how many people were lost at sea and how many people get trauma or were participating in the accidents, and what needs to be done on the IMO level. This will also be discussed on the next legal committee, I hope so. So on the legal aspect, or on the law aspect, we're already making some steps in order to make it important on the international level, on the IMO level, and on the national level. We're doing specific training with Dr. Binay, also the part of our training program concerning the personal understanding, what the seafarer need to know before he goes to sea, and also how the seafarer need to communicate with the company, and what are the basic principles of how you can protect yourself, or how you can ensure that the ship owner you're working with, or working for whom, will be following the contract obligations, and is there any contract obligations, because sometimes seafarers are signing up for the contracts which are not having any social standards, which we recognize again as a problem. So again, basic knowledge and before pre-voyage consultation with the union is the must-have nowadays.
Right. Thank you, Oleg. Yes, Girish.
Yes, this is a problem that we are all are facing, I guess, in every continent or country regarding abandonment of seafarers. And as we all rightly saying, it is up to us to educate our own people and to weed out these kind of agents or companies which are, sending seafarers with wrong contracts. But the whole thing is the onus is on us. Why are we signing these contracts? What are we putting ourselves into that kind of a situation? The license holders are being taken to task now by the government. DG Shipping is cancelling. I've heard of at least a dozen companies whose licenses were cancelled because they were
Right.
doing. That's a good sign. So
Right.
we have to educate ourselves, and the family next of kin has to be aware as to where you're going. You're leaving the country, and that will only help everybody collectively to reduce this menace as we are all facing in different countries, somebody greater, somebody less. And like you rightly said, Philippines, of course, they've got very strong systems in place. It's the systems have to be in place. That is the main thing.
Right.
Thanks.
Yes, systems and procedures cannot be but overemphasized. I mean, and underestimated. Right. So on that note, I think we have sort of more or less addressed all the questions which were sent to us. Right. So we would now like to open the floor. If anyone from our esteemed audience, if you want to ask any question, kindly unmute yourself. And if your bandwidth allows, you can open your camera as well so that we get to see you. And you can ask your question to any of our panelists. So please, if you have any questions, this is the time. One just came in on my handheld. How do you plan to support small MSME companies?
Okay.
So who would like to take
this,
that?
or we have a hand raised by Louis Tai.
Okay, so we can probably, yeah. Louis, please
Louis,
go ahead.
Can you open up your microphone and camera and please ask your question and whom you want to address it to?
Hi, good evening. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, Kaushik. How are you?
Hey, all well, Louis. We haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah,
why
sorry.
Aren't you showing yourself? Where are you hiding?
I'm on the move a little bit, so camera's
okay,
a bit
no worries.
Sorry.
No
as
worries.
long as you can
no
hear
worries.
me clearly, I think that's probably more important.
Yes.
I am curious though. Is there anything done, or is there any plans in place to better ensure the mental well-being or the psychological well-being of the crew? I mean, whatever the initiatives and the plans are being put in place currently or being worked on currently, are there any initiatives to ensure the mental well-being, or the on that aspect? I guess I'm just curious on that front. Thanks, Kaushik.
Okay, thanks, Louis. Yeah. So, Oleg, you want to go first, or Cuba? Okay, please go ahead.
So I'm going first.
Who's the first?
Obviously,
Cuba started.
The most important thing here would be good conditions of work and good conditions of pay, and that would give a lot of solutions for many people. Because when the mental health problems start, usually is when people are being abused one way or the other, not being paid, asked to do things which are not right, and so on and so forth. So again, we'll probably come back to what we were talking about. Make sure the employer you are signing with is reputable. You know where you are going. You've done your homework. You are working with your colleagues, and so on and so forth. But now, if the situation is really beyond cure and you need help, then I would like you to be aware that there is a lot of help around. And shipping industry is probably one of the best now when it comes to support of mental health issues in comparison with any other industries. You've got ISWAN. Have you ever heard of them? That's a very good organization. You can get in touch. You will be responded in your own language. If you've got any problem there, use it. Now, many people don't use the DPA procedures we've got, designated person ashore. This is why ISM has come up with it. On every bridge, every engine control room, every mess room, you will find a telephone number to your designated person ashore. Give him a shout. Say then you've got a problem. And you will be surprised how quickly these guys will try to help you. So seek out, try to get out. Shipping industry has, good shipping industry, I should say, has procedures already in place. And I'm sure Oleg will tell you what ITF does for you as well.
Thanks, Cuba. Yes, Oleg, please. I know you were eager to say and give a response.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, there was the special emergency fund which was established by the ITF to support individual cases and labor providing unions, which was as to my understanding, was more than $1 million, which was distributed among the largest labor providers and was utilized for the individual seafarers and cruise on board and ashore. And there was always at least we 3 or 4 times were applying for the special emergency fund, which was giving the very fastly we can get a small amount of money to repatriate the seafarer from the abandoned ships, which we also used for the individuals to repatriate the individuals from aboard the ships. And once we had a case with the fraud and the seafarers, the whole crew were before they joined the ship, they were abandoned by the ship owner before they joined the ship. They were just staying in Turkey in the hotel, and we were applying to the ITF support emergency fund to get them back and to pay their debts in the hotel to get their passport back. So there was a lot which was already done, but also we were doing the social campaign when it's all started. We tried to cheer up the seafarers worldwide, not only Ukrainians, and jointly with IMEC we established a campaign which was called I Supply the World, which was warmly hosted by many seafarers. Obviously there was some criticism like help us on practice, don't give us this bullshit with the logos and stuff, but a lot of people were very kind and friendly, and a lot of seafarers supported the campaign. And the idea of the campaign is to underline that how seafarers are important for not only for the maritime industry itself, but for the for the world economy in a global perspective. As Cuba said, you don't have the iPhone, you don't have the charger, you don't have anything if it will not be transferred to you by sea. So we did this campaign to cheer up the seafarers as well. And as I said, for those seafarers on board, there was a good sign that those who stay on shore and could get their workplace on board the ship, we were also providing additional financial assistance to put some food in the basket, which also gives the understanding that if you're getting into such a complicated situation, the union will help you if you are the member in good standing. So I think there's, as Cuba said, we're doing a lot. In fact, maybe we're not that good in saying that we're doing this, but we're also trying to put everything on our media channels, Facebook, Instagram. So if the seafarer is properly signed up, he can see what is in fact done for the seafarers.
Okay. Thank you, Oleg. Yes, Girish.
Kaushik, just a point here. Amongst all the work that all the association, federations, ITF is doing, what we could understand, even though I'm not connected directly with the shipping company right now, but a lot of friends in the right places, for the mental well-being of the seafarers, communication. That is the key point which we felt here in India. And the companies were getting the families to speak to the seafarers, which I felt was a brilliant move, because it's only when you speak to your loved ones which are back home and you're not being able to sign off due to whatever reasons, that communication brought in a lot of peace and harmony back into our system. So that communication was the key here, is what we could do for the seafarers in this crisis period, where signing off was getting delayed, it was taking a lot of time. So that was what really helped, in times of these situations.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Girish. Yeah, so I hope that addresses Louis' query. And moving on, so do we have any more questions from the floor?
Louis again.
Sorry,
Yeah, yes,
may
Louis.
I ask one more question, Kaushik, if that's okay?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Thanks for the panel's input to my question. I found that insightful. If I may also ask one more question, which is more future oriented. So the obviously the pandemic is here for this is the new norm. It's going to be here for some years to come, right? How does the panel see transformations within the industry? I mean, what do you foresee as far as transformations are concerned? In the near future for the industry. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Louis, for that question. Yes, Cuba.
Okay, so I'll jump into this. First of all, I can see that shipping companies ashore started working more flexible hours, for example. So working from home is allowed. People are working different hours, and all of a sudden it became apparent that it can be done. We don't have to control everybody in the office and keep an eye on them. People are very responsible, reliable, they can do the job if you tell them what to do and how to do it. So that's the very first thing we can see. We see a lot of remote working, dry dockings done, for example, nowadays with local teams. That's a huge opportunity for the locals in places where there is a shipyard, for example. So seafarers from, I don't know, Poland, Croatia, China, they become remote officers and can perform duties for owners based somewhere else. As far as seafarers are concerned, I think that was good because we've got a lot of training done online now. We've got a lot of information online for the seafarers as well. We have seen a lot of cooperation between countries, which was impossible before COVID. Now, all of a sudden, it is possible to allow seafarers to travel and so on and so forth. So I see a lot of positives coming out of it as well. Obviously, our systems have been tested now. What is negative is the cost. Cost of travel for seafarers, according to our members, raised 40%. All the tests, hotels, procedures, and everything. And that is, somebody has to pay for it. So ship managers will pay for this 40% increase, but they will charge customer, which is owner, and then owner will charge charterer, and then charterer will ask general public to pay for all of this, and that's how it goes. So that's my answer. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, and on our part, we have started remote surveys, and DNVGL has been quite in the forefront of trying to establish procedures and protocols so that we don't have to board vessels anymore, and we can do all kinds of inspections and surveys, including close-up examination and including hazardous spaces and stuff like that, where we can send a drone and try and take care of hull integrity and the ship and the asset integrity as a whole. So all this will develop, I'm sure, further, and technology and digital transformation really are the way forward here. Yeah, I hope this addresses your query, Louis. Yep, thank you for that. Okay, so any more questions? We can take, I think, one more. That's what the time permits. So if we have any further questions from the audience, we can take it now. If not, then any final comments or remarks or observations from our esteemed panelists? Okay, hang on. I see a raised hand. Amit Mali. Yes, please. Please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
So, well, first of all, I would like to thank to all dignitaries for sharing their wonderful insight and make this meeting beautiful. Well, I am Amit Mali. I am attending this meeting from Pune, India. And today I would like to share something with seafarers especially for those who are sitting at home and waiting for joining a ship. And I have worked with Chevron tankers for over the past 7 years. And in the year of 2019, I went to Singapore for second med studies. I got my COC in March 2020, and unfortunately, the lockdown took place. And when I reported to the company, they asked me to wait, and yet I'm waiting to join vessels. Nevertheless, in the meantime, I developed a new skill that is called public speaking. And by sitting at home, I joined many storytelling groups and Toastmaster clubs where we meet people virtually and share our thoughts and learn from each other. Well, over the course of month, I have reached to the point where I started teaching work ethics and code of conduct in one of institution in Pune. So my perspective, and I would like to encourage our seafarers to invest their time to learn something new skills, especially for those who are sitting at home and waiting to join vessel. And I think this is a good opportunity to develop new skill, which can be definitely useful on board to carry out our work effectively. And that's it. Thank you for all. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Amit. Wonderful. Keep up the initiative, and we all live on positivity and hope, and that is really the key which drives our entire industry and our world at large. And we at GMC are sort of committed to take up this challenge and try and help each and every seafarer. And Dr. Binay would agree that that's really at the core of our function of what we intend to do, and to try and help each and every one of you. Thank you very much, and we wish you all the best, and hopefully see you soon in Singapore on like one of the vessels. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Maybe I come and survey you.
Yes.
And your,
Yes, sir.
and your vessel.
I would like to meet you. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. So then, Binay. Yes. Yeah. Yes, Binay.
Yeah, I would like to tell all of you, thank you very much. As I say, together we are great and awesome. Together we are powerful, and together we can change the world. With that, together only we can do anything. As well, very much important that we all are positive, and we all are, empathetic to seafarers. It's a great pleasure for me to see all of these faces that they are so happy to help the maritime industry. Kuba, he's doing relentlessly working. Even 3 o'clock, I send message, he replied. 2 o'clock, message reply. All time. I don't know when he sleeps, but he's doing much for seafarers. As well, Oleg in Odessa, he has done so many things that whenever I call, that this seafarer in problem always solved. As well, Amit in India. So I think that we are leading with example. Yeah. So we are leading example, and this example will be inspired, every and each one in this industry. And we are in GMC here to work more than even 24 hours to make this maritime industry, 180-degree change in positive way. Because what we have, we are not happy, right? We don't want to give our children, our next generation, this maritime industry as well world. So only, as Kuba also said, that we can find everything in ourselves. We first have to change ourselves, our mindset, our mental health, our action, and whatever we say. That should be that's a good example that whatever we have to check. First of all, we have to find out what is the reality. Because seafarers, they listen one thing, they make their own justification and assumption. That is not good things. As your Captain Fadlis, thank you very much that you support communication. Because as I say, there is no any ship without communication. Even no life without communication. Yeah. We not communicate one day, we feel that no one need us. And everyone in this world would like to be important, and we all are human beings. So communication, as more as you communicate seafarer, you are open. We have created the GMC only for one reason, to give every and each one in this world to say, speak out. Because yesterday, one of guys from Odessa, you know, when he sees GMC, he has a brilliant idea. I shared with you about economy of fuel consumption, you know. But he said that I am dreaming to share, but no one listening. I have to share. So such type of guy, we bring in, you know, one platform of GMC. Of course, we can make change the maritime industry as well. You know, here in maritime industry, so many antisocial animals. Yeah, I can say they are making bad name of maritime industry. Of course, we should be strict and we should not tolerate. As well, Oleg know in Ukraine what is going on. Yeah, right now we have to not support. You know, we have to be courageous. Why we have to afraid? What we are doing anything wrong? Yeah, we have to support our seafarers. They are bringing more than $3 billion to Ukrainian economy. If government not understanding, we will make them understand, right? Alec, you support me? Because say me that Binay, we can't do together. Of course we can't do, but we can, you know, inspire each and everyone. And these are good things that we not flourish this corruption. Because, you know, there is two side always guilty. One who is giving money and other who is taking money. So giving money is also a crime, right? So therefore, we will encourage our seafarers to not give even 1 cent to anyone because you are competent. And we need, as I say on from GMC platform, we need in maritime industry only excellent seafarers. We don't need anyone who is not competent. Good person is a person, but not profession. Yeah. So we need here excellent professional seafarers, and we need professional, you know, onshore based also personnel. Yeah. Because I say that there is so many guys, they are discouraging seafarers. But 99% our life we see, we have seen in pandemic, during pandemic, depends on us. I mean, maritime industry. So we will 100% and we will only go ahead. We have, you know, of course, as I say, our core value, empathy, love, and enthusiasm. As well, we will not compromise any integrity. We are full commitment we are giving maritime industry and full persistent. And I will myself, you know, from here as a president, as a, I say, humble servant of this maritime industry, because I love to serve this world, this maritime industry. I will do everything, whatever depends. And all together we are great. Thank you very much, my dear friends, that you are with us. And we 100% will change the maritime industry, and our children will be happy to have this better world. Thank you.
Thanks, Binay, for those inspiring and enthusiastic outlook. And I'm sure together we will make it happen, right? So on that note, well, I would like to, on behalf of the Federation of the Global Maritime Community, we would like to sort of end this session. And with that, we would like to hand over a small token of appreciation to our panelists in these times of the pandemic, where we can't really transport physically straight away. Yeah, I think teleportation is being worked at, and someday we should be able to teleport a trophy and a medallion across. But till such time, we will do with a certificate of appreciation, right? So we would request Mohit to sort of do the honors and request Binay to hand over the certificates to our esteemed panelists.
1 second. I'll just open up the certificate. Give me 1 second. We are going with order of sequence as how, Binayji?
Yeah. What do you mean?
How are we going ahead? You are giving first to
Captain Cuba.
Okay, 1 second. I'll open up his.
बोलो कौन सी है आपको नहीं RSM में 16 रुपया
The pricing?
लगता नहीं 10 रुपया डबल एस का रेट है 38 रुपया बाजार में के बाहर कैसे है कितना बड़ी चाहिए एक 20 बुरा है तो समझ के बता दिया है ना
Kaushik, you are mute.
Yeah, I'm just
Kaushik, you are
doing that.
You are mute, Kaushik.
No, yeah. There you go.
Vinayji, can you see this?
Yes.
Vinay,
would you like to present? Vinay,
Yeah,
can you
Vinay
present
ji,
this?
Yeah. Vinay ji?
Yeah. What I have to do here?
No, you just have to say we as a token of appreciation. We are
As a
presenting
token
this
of
certificate.
appreciation, this certificate to Captain Cuba. Thank you very much that you have given your valuable time.
Captain, we will be sending this through email to you within the hour once we close the session.
Superb. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Okay, now the second sequence, Vinay ji.
Second, Captain Girish.
Captain Girish?
Yeah.
Thank you, Singhji. Appreciate this a lot. Thanks a lot for this.
Thank you very much, Captain Girish, for your contribution to maritime industry. And this is really amazing. 100 flights you have arranged to help seafarers. That's good. Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your time, and you have shared,
yes.
Insights.
Thank you very much for that.
So,
Pleasure.
Thank you.
This to Mr. Oleg.
Yeah, now to Mr. Oleg, our ambassador.
Thank you very much, guys. That's really nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Oleg. That you have, you are what I was doing. That is really inspiring and good. That you are doing so many things. As I say, not as you are unique from other part of the world. You are training seafarer on soft skill, mental health. You are arranging so many things. So thank you very much. And we will together. This is also your slogan. Together we are power. Yeah.
We're stronger.
Yeah. Together we are strong. So together we will do.
Okay. So on that note, thank you everyone from joining in from near and far. Stay safe and look after yourself and your families. Please look forward to our next webinar. This was the first one, our inaugural one. So we thank you for all the support. Keep writing in, and we will host the next one very soon. And we will let all the attendees over here, we will notify you over email. So, I hereby declare the end of this webinar and panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
a
very much.
Thank you
very
very
good
much,
day and good
everyone.
evening
Yeah.
to all of you.
Thank
Bye-bye
you. Thank you.
and
Bye-bye.
cheers.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you, Vinayji. We look forward for a continuous engagement with the maritime industry. We have got our YouTube channel. We are on LinkedIn. We are on Facebook. So please follow us and look forward to have you all in our future programs. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mohit. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Oleg, you want to say something?
Kushik, if you give me a chance to thank you on behalf of all the panelists for your fantastic moderation of our meeting. Thank you very much. That was very fluent and very easygoing. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Oleg. Yeah. We look forward to your support always.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.